Well, good morning and happy Tuesday, guys. It is 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we are getting ready to jump into this word on today. I have a question for you. I want you to get your notebook out. I want you to get your iPad out. I want you to get something to write with, whether it's a pen, a pencil, or something digital. I want you to take notes today as we journey through this conversation of who is helping you to win. Hey there, Mother Carolyn, I need to know who's helping you to win in this season. I need to know who's hoping for you, who's praying for you, who's interceding for you, who's guiding you, who's instructing you, who's encouraging you, who is helping you to win. As we go into this conversation today, we are going to be in the book of Numbers. Numbers is a book that's in the Old Testament. We're going to jump right on in it today. And in Numbers, this conversation that's going on. And through chapters number 13 and number 14, God is having this conversation with Moses. Moses then in turn has this conversation with a group of individuals that are called leaders. I don't want you to get a little shunned by that word leaders. Hey, Brother Ralph Jr., we're talking about leaders today. And as a leader, every now and then, leaders need leaders. Moses was a leader, and Moses was not the only person that was in charge. Moses was surrounded by 12 different tribes of Israel. And the Bible tells us, y'all, I'm getting so excited that God tells Moses, he says, there is a land. There is a land that is overflowing with milk and honey. It is a land, Moses, that I am getting ready to give to you. And he gives Moses some instructions. The question that I have for you is, who do you have in your ear that's instructing you? Are you inclined to hear the voice of God? Are you willing to listen to what he says and go about the things that he tells you to do the way he tells you to do them? He tells Moses in chapter number 13, verse number 1, it says, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving the children of Israel. Hey there, Ishan. Hey, Minister Carol. He tells Moses, he says, I need you to go gather some men. And he gives very good instructions. He says, Moses, he says, get some men that are leaders, some men that are able to go out and be spies. Now, I don't want you to get lost in this word. I want to introduce to you a word that's called explore. The word explore, when he said to Moses, send men to spy, that word is translated, it's a Hebrew word that's spelled X-E-Z, and it's pronounced as this word that means to explore. The word explore is pronounced as tour, like you're taking a tour guide. He tells the individuals, he says, I need you to go send out some people that are willing to explore. As I begin to ask you questions on today, I really, Chris, want you to lock this stuff in. I don't want you to just hear it and it come in one ear and go out the other. When I ask you this question, who is helping you to win in February? Who is helping you to win on this 18th day on a Tuesday? Who is helping you to win to make sure that you get from point A to point B? Who is helping you to win so that you can get stuff accomplished for yourself? Who is helping you to win so that your family dynamics look better? Who is helping you to win so that your finances look different? Who is helping you to win so that your mind doesn't get caught up in the cares and the affairs of this world, but you have a realization that there is something that God promised you? In the book of Numbers, the people were promised a land. They were promised a land that was overflowing, the Bible says, with milk and honey. And in order to be one that would go on this exploration trip, these individuals could not be people that were just nosy. Oh, I tell you, in this season, you don't need to be connected to the folks that are just nosy, the folks that are just curious, wanting to know, well, what about this and what's going on that? This is the time where we've got to mind our own affairs, Stevens. This is the time where we've got to say, what is the assignment on my life? And I got to stay focused. I got to make sure that I achieve it. I got to make sure that I capture the thing that God said actually belongs to me. I don't want to miss it because I'm in somebody else's business. I don't want to miss it because I'm distracted by some stuff that ain't got nothing to do with me. What has God assigned for you to do, and who has he set up to help you to to get those things accomplished. Oh, when we look at this word, it says that they were not just being nosy, but these spies, they were on this thing that was called causatively. Causatively means it's related to a cause. It's related to a purpose. It said the purpose was that God said, I'm giving you a land, so I need you to go spy it out so that you can take possession of it. When we go through this word, it says that Moses goes and he goes to the 12 tribes of Israel. He gathers these tribes and he says, I'm going to select a leader from each one of the tribes. Now, I want to give you the names of these leaders. Oftentimes when we're in the Bible, we start reading this word and you're like, God, why this name mean this and why this name right there? Just tell me it was 12 people. But here's something that I don't want you to miss in this causative exploration. Every now and then you got to look at the little details so that you can really get the understanding of what's taking place. Each one of these tribal individuals, the 12 leaders that Moses selected, they had a name, and in Bible time, their names meant it represented their identity. The name of someone in the Bible, it wasn't how we just name stuff. You know, we just be calling folks names. What's the baby name? It's Rainbow, it's Miracle, it's Mercedes. The Bible had a name, and the names of the people in biblical times represented not just their identity, but it represented their authority. Hey there, Franklin Jr. It represented their character. It represented their nature. Their name meant something. So when Moses goes and he looks at the 12 tribes in the book of Numbers, he knew that he had to select leaders that could go spy out this land. And here are the leaders that he selected. It says that first he selected this person by the name of Shammua. Shammua, why would I need to know that? Well, I need you to understand the character of Shammua. Shammua was someone that was popular. He was one of David's sons. So he got Shammua as one of the leaders. He got a popular person, if you mind. And then the next person he put was somebody whose name was Shaphat. Shaphat was actually a prince. So he had a popular person that he selected. I'm going somewhere. And he had a prince that he selected, somebody of royalty. I promise you, I'm going somewhere. He then selected a man by the name of Caleb. Caleb means dog, D-O-G, four-legged, roof, bark. Caleb's name meant dog. And I came across Caleb's name and I said, interesting. And then he selected another person by the name of Igal, I-G-A-L. Igal's name means avenger. It means that he's a punisher. So don't lose track with me. He got a popular person. He got a prince. He got a dog, and then he got an avenger. And then the next person he collected was someone named Hosea. Hosea was someone that he selected to be one of the leaders to go spy out the land, and his name means deliverer. He then selected somebody, and his name was Palti, P-A-L-T-I. Palti's name means my deliverance. He selected then another person by the name of Gadiel. I'm going somewhere. Don't get lost. Gadiel's name means the fortune of God. He selected another person whose name meant Gadi, G-A-D-D-I, and his name meant my fortune. He selected another person whose name was Ammiel. Ammiel was a kinsman of God, and the kinsman of God felt that he had this obligation to be served by God. He was special, if you will. And then he selected somebody named Sether, whose name meant hidden, and then Nabi, N-A-H-B-I, whose name also means hidden, Sister Bobby. And then the last person he selected was Geuel, whose name means the majesty of God. I know you're saying, Pastor Tad, you just ran through all of those names, and I told you the names are of significance. The names are the 12 leaders of the tribes of Israel. Each one was different. And what I learned about these 12 individuals is that they were of another generation. If you will, when we go into the book of Genesis and Exodus, it says that there was a 12 tribe that was selected there, but these were the older people in their 60s and 70s and up. And this generation that was selected in the book of Numbers, they were around the age of 40. They were another generation of leaders. These individuals, their names, I told you, names represent identity, and names represent authority, and names names represent character and names represent the nature. It almost reminded me, for those of you don't get lost, DMX, he said there was Alicia, Angela, Brenda, and Bridget. If you don't know the song, just swipe on and keep on going. Don't let it bother you. All of these names were being called, it says. And Nadine, they got to the name, Sister Johnson, and it says when he got to these names, he selected somebody that was popular. He selected somebody that was a prince. He selected somebody that was an avenger. He selected two people whose names meant deliverer. He selected somebody whose name meant fortunate. He selected someone that felt obligated. Oh, I'm going somewhere. He selected two people whose name meant hidden as leaders. That concerns me. And then he selected somebody whose name meant majestic. Oh, as I begin to look at this, it says that through chapter number 13, verse 1 through 15, he selects 12 different tribes. Hey, their treasurer, daddy. And he selected them. And in verse number 16, it says that when he got there, he said, these are the names of the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land. It said, but Moses called Hosea. Remember, Hosea was the one whose name meant my deliverer. He said he called Hosea and he changed his name to Joshua. Where you going, Pastor Tab? Joshua meant that God is with me. He changed his name from being a deliverer to understand, Marlon, that you can't deliver nobody by yourself. You need the help of God in order to get to the land that's overflowing with milk and honey. And Moses does a name change at the end. Oh, why is all of this relevant, Pastor Tab? When I ask you this question, who is helping you win? I want to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of what the world does. Oh, where are we going, Luana? Where are we going? See, the world would find it to have a hearty list. If they were looking at Moses's a list of individuals and leaders he selected, Moses selected somebody that was popular and that was a prince and that was an avenger. And I saw it in the chat, and that was majestic. But I want to tell you that sometimes you got to step back and assess who are the individuals that I need to actually be following? Who are the individuals that God actually assigned to lead me to the land that he promised me? If I tell you the truth, in this season, you can't afford to pop up, to partner up with somebody just because they're popular. You can't afford to partner up just with somebody because they call themselves an avenger. You can't afford just to hook up and link up and follow instruction and get guidance from somebody just because they say that they're majestic. I want to know, is there somebody around you that has a track record of success? You see, in these stories, as we go through the book of Numbers, we're going to find out that it was two individuals. And who are the two, Pastor Tab? Well, one of them was the dog. The dog Caleb, whose name meant dog. Caleb had come from a tribe where he understood that these conditions that we're living in should not be my destination. Caleb had a dog in the fight. You ever had somebody say, I ain't even worried about it because I ain't got no dog in that fight? Baby, Caleb had a dog in the fight. Caleb said that, no, if God said I'm supposed to have it, I want it. I want to know if I'm talking to anybody out there that can say, Pastor Tab, I want all that God has for me. I got a dog in this fight. I want everything that God said I'm supposed to have. I got a dog in this fight. I can't just sit around and wait for stuff to happen. I got a dog in this fight. It says Caleb was the dog. That's what his name represented. And I want to know, when I ask you the question, who's helping you to win? Thank you, Holy Spirit. I feel your presence. Who is leading you that has a dog in this fight? Oh, you can't afford to be connected to somebody that don't have nothing to lose. You can't afford to be connected to somebody that don't really care if you win or not. You can't afford to be connected to somebody that don't care if you struggle, and don't care if you stay broke, and don't care if you stay sick, and don't care if you get divorced, and don't care if you live happily ever after. I need to be connected to somebody that wants me to win. I'm looking for my dogs. I'm looking for the ones that say, Pastor Tab, I'm about it. I'm looking for the ones that say, Renata, if you got something to do and I can help you, here I am. Sign my name on the dotted line. Where are the individuals that are saying, let's go, let's get it, let's have it, let's achieve it, because God said that we can. Oh, it says Caleb wasn't majestic. Caleb wasn't a prince. He wasn't an avenger, but Caleb had a dog in the fight. The other person that he selected was somebody who had a name change at the end. Oh, I want to tell you that sometimes when you go through this process of exploration. Sean, sometimes when you go through this process of trying to get all that God said belongs to you, there will be some changes at the last minute that take place. I want to know, are you connected to somebody that's flexible at the very last place, at the very last moment, right before they were getting ready to go spy out the land? Moses says, wait a minute, Hosea, come here. Let me change your name. Let me change it to something that represents that the covering of God is with you. Let me change it to something that represents you not in this thing by yourself. And when I read it, it did not say that you got to remember these men are representing their tribes. They're representing their names. I told you a name is not just a name in Bible times. It connects to their authority, to their character, to their identity, to their nature. He didn't go back and forth saying, no, you can't change my name because this is the lineage. He said, if that's the name change, then that's what it's going to be. I want to know, are you flexible? I want to know, are you connected to somebody that's leading you, that's flexible, that understands that God doesn't have to operate on your clock. God doesn't have to operate on our schedule. In the last minute, God can switch something up and say, I'm changing it because it's for your good. Oh, we get to this Bible and it says that in the book of Numbers, chapter number 13, verse number 16, Joshua has his name that is changed. I want to tell you, if you want to be in a position to win, don't you be the person that's just selecting somebody because they're popular. Don't you be the person that's just selecting somebody because they always ready to avenge and fight. Don't you be the person that just selects the person that can help you win because they are prince and they connected to royalty. Please don't select the person that's hiding out and don't really want to be the leader. Don't select the person that thinks that their majestic name and their majestic posture and their majestic position is all that's required. I need you to connect to somebody that really wants to help you win. Oh, if I go a little bit further, it says that they go through this causative exploration. This causative exploration, they're in the book of Numbers, and their assignment is to make a conquest. What do you mean, Pastor Tab? A conquest. C-O-N-Q-U-E-S-T. There's a conquest. You see, God tells Moses in chapter number 13, verse number 2, he says, I need you to send some spies out, some men that can go explore the land, this land, and hear me good now. It says, which I am giving to the children of Israel. He didn't say, I need you to go spy it out to see if I can give it to you. I don't need you to spy it out to see what you think about it. He tells them, this is a land that I, God, am giving to you. Before I go a little bit deeper, I want you to lock into your mind, into your spirit. What has God said that he's giving you? I know you probably don't ask yourself that question. You probably go before God with your list of your prayers and your requests and your needs. But I want to know, what did God say in response that he is giving to you? The people were in a place where they were in a bad predicament. They were out there living in the wilderness. They had just escaped all of the mess dealing with Pharaoh and Egypt and slavery and bondage. And they got to a place where God says, that's not your destination. This is not where the story ends. I've got so much better for you than this right here. There's a promise that I have for you. And all I need you to do is go check it out. Oh, I want to ask you, what has God told you belongs to you? What did God say is yours in this season? Are you willing to put it out loud and say, God made me a promise? See, we get to this place where sometimes we're like the hidden leader. We're like the leader of one of the tribes that don't want to talk about it because we're scared that if it doesn't manifest, then we're going to be embarrassed and people going to say, well, you said, God said, and I don't see it yet. But I'm telling you, I'm standing on business this year. I'm telling you that God made me some promises, and I'm not afraid to declare what thus says the Lord. God told me that I'm going to be healthy. God told me that I'm going to be wealthy. God told me that my latter days are going to be better than my former. God told me that I was going to be a lender. God told me that I would be the head and not the tail. God told me that goodness and mercy would follow me. God told me some things. What did God promise you? Oh, it says that God tells Moses, there is a land that is promised to you, Tammy. There is a land that belongs to you. He said, but what I need you to do is send out some spies to check out the territory. Now, I'll tell you, I got to a place right there where I said, God, it's just me. I'm being honest. I'm being transparent. I'm being naked and I'm unashamed. I said, well, God, if you're going to give it to them, why did you just give it to them? Why did they even have to go check it out? If you said it's mine, why can't you just make it manifest? And some of us are in that same space and we tell the truth. Well, we're like, God, if you said it's mine, then why don't I have it? God, if you said it's mine, why I got to do A, B, and C? God, if you said it's mine, why I got to go check something out? It says the people are in this position, and the reason to answer that question that God is sending them to go spy, explore the land is because they need to gather some intel. Oh, daddy, my daddy, the treasurer is on. He's a retired military Air Force veteran. You'll understand. You'll appreciate this. I called our COO this morning of the board, Dr. Rose, who's in the Marines, and I said, I need you to educate me a little bit on this thing called intel. You see, intel, the reason they were sent to explore is because they had to go gather some intel. Intel is short for the word intelligence. Oh, I'm going somewhere. See, oftentimes we want to go get what God tells us to get, but we don't have the intelligence, or hear me in the spirit, we don't have the intelligence to know how to go possess it. So it ends up resetting us further back than when we started, and we watch other people run in and do stuff without having the intelligence to know how to do it. And then we decide that we putting our hands behind our back and we're not touching it either. God says, I didn't say for you to be stand still. I didn't say for you to get paralyzed. What I'm saying to you is go gather some intel. Oh, God, help me with this, Holy Spirit. The intel, the necessity, get your word tab for the intel. Intel from a military perspective, it gives you two things. The first thing it gives you is this thing called recon, R-E-C-O-N. Recon is when you physically go out to see what's going on. Let me give you an example. You sleeping in the house, and let's say you got an alarm system on your house, and you know that there's only a few things that will trigger the alarm system. It could be that a door got opened, a window got lifted, something has caused the alarm beep, 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 to sound in the atmosphere. You're in your bed, laying up in the bed, all nice and cozy, tucked in under the covers, done got that cover just right under the chin. You know how we do it. And you hear beep, 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 beep. The alarm is going off. You decide that you're going to send your sugar pie, your honey bun. Ain't no need for you got bad ladies. You're going to send the man out of the house. And if you single, then you're going to go get you a bat. And you're going to say, let me go see what's going on up in here. You're going to do a recon. What is the recon, Pastor Tab? You're going to physically go and look and see what has caused the alarm. You're going to physically go spy out and explore what's going on throughout the house. When Moses is being told by God to send the spies to go do a recon, is so that they could go spy out and see what was going on, to gather some intelligence. The second thing that you do in an intel process with the gathering of intelligence, of useful information, is you got to know what you know about the situation beforehand. What do you mean, Pastor Tab? I know, as I said before, I know that if the alarm goes off, what will trigger the alarm is if a door is open and the alarm has been set. What will trigger the alarm, I know it, is if a window gets lifted up and the alarm has been set. What could trigger the alarm is if the power goes out and it comes back on. It can reset and cause the home base to start beep, 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 beep. So the knowledge of what I know, and then my ability to go out and survey, explore what's going on in the house, is the putting together of these two things that are called intel or intelligence. Why is this significant to you and I? You see, God doesn't always give us the things that we want and just drop it in our hat, in our laps, and in our hands, because sometimes there is some valuable information that you need to learn before you go pursue and take possession of what God says is yours. Oh, let me say that again. That was good to me. That was good to me. See, sometimes God says, I don't want to just give it to you, Tammy. I want you to gather the knowledge. I want you to take what you know about the situation. I want you to go see some things for yourself, so that when you go on this exploration process to go take what I said is yours, you know how to maintain it. Oh, there's been a lot of things in the news as of late about people that are in positions of leadership that made some changes changes and they realize that they changed some stuff up and weren't connected to the folks that had the historical information, and now you find yourself in a ziggity boo. You can't just assume that because somebody is popular that they know how to lead. You can't just assume because someone is put in a position like these 12 men of the tribes of Israel that they know how to lead and put you in a position where you are winning. I'm asking you this question: who is helping you win? Who is causing you to a position so that you can grow, so that you can learn, so that you can go see some things for yourself? Who is telling you that you need to go spy out the land? And now let's take what you know, what your grandmama taught you and your granddaddy taught you, what your mama and your daddy put inside of you. Now you put all of that together and you have some intel so that you can lead intelligently, so that you can gather, Minister Carol, what God says is yours. I want to know who's helping you to win in this season so that you can become intelligent. Oh, it says that they were going on this conquest. As they were going on this conquest, if I go a little bit further in Numbers chapter number 13, verse number 17, it says Moses, after he calls these 12 leaders, oh, Holy Spirit, and he calls them together. It says Moses said in verse number 17, he says, go up this way into the south and go up to the mountains and see what the land is like. He's doing intel. He's calling intel, whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, few or many. Verse number 19, he said, whether the land they dwell in is good or bad, and whether there's cities that are set up like camps or strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are forests there or not. I began to look at this thing and I said, God, it seems like just some mere information, some random information, but you got to remember that Moses was a leader. You see, Moses' responsibility was to give instruction to these 12 individuals that represented the 12 tribes of Israel so that they could know how to go gather the intelligence so that they could go possess the land that God gave them. What were the two things that they were gathering? I'm so glad that you asked. The first thing that he gave them, he said the land. He said physically. Remember, we talked about going and looking through the house to see what caused the alarm to go off. He said, physically, I need you to go into this land. I need you to tell me, is the land good or bad? And I know you're saying, Pastor Tab, what does this have to do with me? There's some things that God told you that is yours this year. There's some things that God told you belongs to you in the future. And God has sent me to tell you that you can't just jump in this thing because it seems like the popular thing to do. You can't just jump in this thing because you've done it before. These were leaders of tribes. They had led before. They weren't a rookie at this thing, but they needed to get information because this was a new thing that God was getting ready to give into them. And some of us don't have the ability to successfully get what God called us to get because we're trying to take old intel and operate in a new gift. You're trying to take old information and go conquer a new territory. You're trying to take something that you used to do and something that you used to be familiar with and your habits and your proclivities, and you haven't taken the time to say, well, wait a minute, God, this is something new. This is a new job. This is a new person. This is a new relationship. This is a new goal. This is a new vision. This is a new plan. This is a new financial stretch. This is a new medical diagnosis. This is something new. God says, I need you to do the work and be willing to go gather the intel. He says, in this intel, he said, physically, I want you to go look at this land and tell me, is it good or is it bad? He said, with the land, he said, I want you to go check out the cities. Let me tell you about the cities. He said, I want to know if they're camps or if they're strongholds. Why is this relevant? You can't just take stuff at surface value and take it to know what you believe it to know. You see, the reason he said, I need you to see if there are camps there. Camps, if I go back to my military, pull on my military support that I have on this board, the camps represented similar things like Marines. Any of you are familiar with the Marines, their bases are called camps. They have Camp Lejeune, their bases. And the reason they're called camps, and it's significant in this particular part of text, is because the Marines are in a position where if something happens, they can pick up quickly and go. They need to be mobile. They can't be stuck down to buildings and all of these big infrastructures. So they have to be in a position where they're mobile. I want to ask you, as God is taking you to this place that he's taking you to, as he's giving you the things that he told you that he's giving you, have you surveyed to see how mobile this thing is? If I take this job, is it mobile? If I connect with this person, is it mobile? If I make this move, is it mobile? Is it something that I can easily manipulate and pick up and go when needed? Moses said, I need to know if they are in camps or, and before I leave that, let me give you the significance. What would happen back in the early days when there were military bases that were set up with camps? If something happened and the Marines picked up and left, the town would fall apart. The town was built around the infrastructure of the Marine camp. So when the Marines had to pick up and move because it was a part of the requirement for the job, the town would fall apart. So Moses needed to know, I want to know how they're set up. Because if we attack a camp and we rolling up against a camp, we can take out the whole city. And some of you thinking too small. Eddie LaVert Jr. Eddie LaVert Jr. I'm going to tell you business for a little bit, big brother. But Eddie is out there and he's exploring territory. He's out there building. I hope this ain't confidential, so you could just call me, Eddie. Call me. He's out there building up lands and building up infrastructures. He's setting up stuff so that the community can survive and thrive. God has given us something. He's blessed us something that's so much bigger than us. And we got to stop looking at it as, is this just enough for me? Who is going to be impacted because you won? Who is going to be better because you won? Who is going to be changed for the good because you won? See, some of us are operating in a gift and it's so small. God says the reason you're losing in this is because it will only benefit you, but I've assigned you into the earth so that you can create something that'll change a whole generation, that'll change a whole community, that'll change a whole world. And I need you to get the intelligence so that you know how to possess what I'm giving you. Oh, it says that Moses said, is it a camp? The other thing he wanted to know, he said, is it a camp or is it a stronghold? A stronghold represented a fenced-in area. It was like a fort, if you will, F-O-R-T. It was similar to an army base. You have Fort Bragg as an example in the Carolinas. Army bases were fortified. Army bases were set up and they were more positioned so that they could take care of all of the community. They had big buildings and infrastructures where the camps were small and mobile. Moses doesn't just send them out to do random stuff. And I ask you this question when I ask you, who is helping you to win? You got to have a subject matter expert like Moses that's in your ear. That ain't going to just send you out there to gather information to take up your time so that you can be nosy. Yvette, who's setting you up so that you can win? Who has the knowledge? Who has the information? Who knows what to look for? Who knows what to look out for as? Who is in your corner that can tell you, in order for us to get what God said is ours, we got to know this. We got to get some intel. Oh, he said, I want to know concerning this land. Is the land, not the people, is the land rich or is the land poor? Oh, God. Is there something productive in this area? Now, mind you, God already said to him in Numbers chapter 1, he said, I'm sending you to a land that is overflowing. Oh, let me go back to it. He said, I'm giving this land to the children of Israel. What Moses didn't know is this land the promised land? Is this land the one that God keep talking about? Is this land, is this the spot? And some of us need to have somebody connected to us that can say, wait a minute, because you moving too quick. Wait a minute, let me show you how it sounds in practical worlds. Everybody ain't the next best thing. Every job ain't the next best job. Every move ain't the next best move. Somebody has to be able to have the wisdom to step back and say, wait a minute, we don't know. I know God said he's giving it to us. But when he gives it to us, you got to know the difference between a friend and a foe. You got to know the difference between God gave it to you. Do you know that God sometimes gives you some trouble? Pastor Ted, God gives you sometimes some trouble so that it can stretch you, so that it can grow you, so that it can build you, so that you can be fortified, so that you can stand. God sometimes allows a trouble to come your way. Oh, the song used to say, trouble in my way. I have to cry sometimes. I lay awake at night, but that's all right. Jesus will fix it. Do you know nothing happens that God doesn't allow? If trouble came in your way, it's because God allowed the trouble to come in your way. But what are you going to do with the trouble? God says, I'm not sending you here so that you can die and get discouraged. I'm sending you here to build something in you because there's greater that's coming, and I need you to have the skill set to handle the greater. Oh, he says, I want to know about the land. He says, are there forests there? That's what he's asking the question of when Moses sends out the spies. Are there forests in the area or not? Cat, he wants to know, is there a place where you guys can hide out while you're spying out the land? Oh, that's relevant because some of you are checking some things out and you keep announcing your moves. I need you to hush. What'd you say? I need you to hush. Holy Ghost, hush. Hey, Candy Love, some of you have been announcing, I'm about to do this and I'm about to do that, and you need to hush. You're giving out too much of your intel. You're giving out too much information. I'm standing flat-footed. I'm saying, God, there's some things that's mine this year. There's some things that you said belong to me, but I'm not announcing every step along the way. I'm not announcing everything as it happens. I'm gathering my intel. He says, I need to know. I need to know. I'm good, Candy Love. Thank you, sis. He said, go check out the physical aspects of the land. He said, the next thing I need you to check out, he said, I need to know about the people. Oh, boy, somebody gonna swipe me off. He said, I need you to go get some information about the people. He says in Numbers chapter number 13, verse number 17 through 20, in regards to the people, he said, I need to know if the people are strong or are they weak? I need to know if the people are few or if it's a lot of them, if it's many. He says, I need to know who these people are here that God talked about. God said, I need you to go into this land, and in this land, there are people that are already there. But I'm getting ready, Apostle Ricky, to give you this land. And Moses sends his 12 leaders from the 12 tribes of Israel, and he says, I need to figure out some information. I need some intel on these people. Some of you have connected to folks and you have no intel. Some of you have connected to some things that are connected to your dream, but you have no intel. You don't know who they are. You don't know how they move. You don't know their history. You don't know their proclivities. You selected somebody, let's go back to the 12 leaders of the tribes that looked majestic, that looked like they were good, that looked like it was popular, that looked like it was fortunate, that looked like they were an avenger, that looked like they had this thing that was called the presence of God. But God said, I need you to go do some intel. Moses sends the leaders out to get the intel. They go, and it tells us, let me go down. He says, when you send you out, he tells them what to look for, and he gives them a command. He says in chapter number 13 of the book of Numbers, verse number 20, he says, be of good courage. He said, and bring some of the fruit of the land. And the reason he wanted them to bring the fruit of the land, he said, because this is the time when, if this is a good land, and if this is the right time to take over this land, let me introduce another concept. Sometimes it's the right thing, but the wrong time. He said, the reason I need you to let me bring back some of the fruit, because for those of us that are fruit eaters, you know that all fruit is not in season all times of the year. And this particular area, if it was a fruitful area, then you should be able to bring back some fruit to show the produce of what it's coming from. I want to ask you, have you examined the fruit? Before you connect, have you looked at the fruit? Before you hook up, have you looked at the fruit? Before you buy it and invest, have you looked at the fruit? Moses says, if this is the right time to do what God is telling us to do, there should be some fruit as a result that lets us know that we're going to be all right when we get there. The Bible tells us in verse number 21 of chapter 13, it says, so they went up, the 12 spies, and they spied out the land. This is when they got there. He said, the word says that the descendants of Anak, A-N-A-C. Hey there, Tracy. The descendants of Anak were there. In verse number 23, it says they came upon this valley called Eshcol. And when they were there, they cut down one branch, just one big branch. And this branch had a cluster of grapes on it. The cluster of grapes was so large that they had to put it on a pole so that they could carry it back to the area of the place where Moses was at. It was definitely fruitful. It says that they also brought some pomegranates and they brought some figs, being obedient to what the leader told him to look for when they got there. If we go down to verse number 27 in chapter 13, it says when they got there, they told them, they says, we went to the land that you sent us. It truly flows with milk and honey, and this is the fruit. He gave them, they showed the fruit. It said, but nevertheless, the people that dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And moreover, we saw the descendants of Anak there. It says when they said this, they told the people that, look, we went there, we saw the land, we saw the fruit. It says that the people began to complain. They said, oh my goodness, we see the fruit. And some of y'all are in this position right now. That's why you got to be connected to somebody, Tracy, that wants to help you to win in this season. They saw that this is definitely the time because the fruit is ripe and it's large. This is definitely the place. They said this is not just any old land, but this is the land that's overflowing with milk and honey. This is the promise that God said to our descendants. This is the promise that God promised our forefathers. And some of us are at the cusp of walking into what was promised to you. It was spoken over your life by your grandparents. It's in the bloodline that you will be successful. It's connected that you shall have. It's a part of your inheritance of Abraham that you will walk in the blessings and the fruit thereof. They said, but nevertheless, oh my God, nevertheless, there's some people there that's called Anaks. And what you know about the Anaks? Well, the Anaks were big people and they were extremely tall. I want to ask you, who is your nevertheless? Who's so big and so tall that you won't even try? Who is your nevertheless? Who is so inhabitant and strong that you're afraid to go forward? Who is your nevertheless? Who is the person that you saw that already had it and now it intimidates you and you don't know if you can do it the way that they do it? You don't know if you can possess it the way that they possess it. Who is your nevertheless? God says, I need you to get the nevertheless and put them on the back burner. I need you to remember that I am God. I need you to remember that if I'm for you, who can be against you? The people begin to murmur and they begin to complain. Do you see who's already there? They taller than us. They bigger than us. They stronger than us. They got more power than us. Do you see what they just did? Did you see what just happened on the news? Did you see what just came down? Did you see what just got passed? Did you see what just got changed? Where is your nevertheless? Nevertheless, God is with me. Nevertheless, God has got my back. Nevertheless, I shall live and not die. Nevertheless, the glory of the Lord is in this place. Nevertheless, he is my God. He's my keeper. He's my way maker. Nevertheless, I am connected to the God that said, go and possess the land. It says Caleb heard all of this commotion. In verse number 30, it says Caleb quieted the people. I looked up that word translation, and the word quieted meant that Caleb said, hush. Oh, God. Who is helping you win? When the sound of the world gets loud, who's telling you to hush? I know you said, Pastor, that's disrespectful. Somebody has to be the leader that stands up in the room and says, hush, hush, and get it together. Hush and quiet your mind. Hush and gather your emotions. Hush, where is that doubt coming from? Hush, where is your faith? It says, quiet, quiet, quiet. Caleb quieted the people, said, hush. And he said, let us go up at once. He said, and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. Oh, when I ask you whose helping you to win. I want to know who's telling you that you're well able. I don't want to know the people that's just nosy, that's giving you the Vox play-by-play update of what just happened on the news. I want to know who's in your corner that's telling you you're well able to do it. You're well able to have it. You're well able to achieve it. I don't care about your history. If your history looked like the biblical people's history, they were enslaved. They were in Pharaoh's area. They were encamped. They didn't have nothing. They were living in a wilderness, and some of us have best conditions. We got better conditions than they have. You ain't in a slave. There is no Pharaoh. Nobody whooping you on your back. You're not working and not getting paid for it. You have better conditions than they had in the Bible times. And you mean to tell me we got more resources than they had back then, and we can't figure out how to get it done? Oh, the devil is a liar. I want to connect to the leaders that will get in the room and say, hush up this whining, and hush up this complaining, and hush up this murmuring, and hush up this low self-esteem and this low faith. You are well able. Go and possess it at once. It says that Caleb was that leader. And it says that the people realized that, wait a minute. Caleb a little radical. Caleb done lost his mind. Caleb done told us to shut up. Caleb out here talking about you can do it. Caleb trying to still inspire the people. It says that the people, the other 10, Joshua didn't say nothing. Joshua, Jonathan, he just standing by listening to Caleb say, yep, let's go do this thing. It says that the other 10 that went to go spy out the land, they got all routed up. And they said, no. It says that the land, they said in verse number 32, it says the land through which we are gone to, it has spies in it. Oh, God. It says that the people that we saw in it, they were men of great stature, trying to confuse the people. He says, we saw giants. And they didn't say giants. They said, we saw the giants. And that "the" made me pause. I said, wait a minute. They didn't just say, we went to this land. I hear all Caleb hollering about, let's go do it. I hear what Pastor Tab saying, go on and handle it. Get the right person that's leading you. But we saw the giants. They didn't say, Madam Vice President, in verse number 33 of chapter 13, we saw giants. They said we saw the giants. They were pulling to something that they knew, Dorothy, that would connect back to their knowledge, the intel. You see, back in the days of Genesis chapter number 6, matter of fact, let me just flip there for a minute. Genesis chapter number 6, verse 4, it talks about the giants that they're referencing in this story. It says, it talks about this wickedness that was the judgment of man. And in verse number 6, verse 4, it says, oh God, there were giants on the earth in those days and also afterwards. And the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. And they were mighty men who were old men of renown. They were renowned, They were men that were popular. The giants that they were trying to exaggerate this to be, these the giants that your grandfather fought. These the giants that was back in the day. You know, those big folks. Back in the day, you know, the giants, and what was said of these giants, that they were so tall. If I were to give you an example, if this were the person, let's say you were the person, and this was the giant standing up against it, the giants, the way that they would take over the people is that they would literally just fall on top of them and crush their enemies. So they exaggerated, going back to the book of Numbers, they exaggerated what they saw and said, we saw the giants. And if we go into this land, certainly Marv is, hey sis, they're going to crush us. And I want to ask you this question. Who is it that you think is going to crush you, that makes you afraid to go after all that God said belongs to you? Who is it that you've created to be the giant that you're afraid to stand up against? What is it that you've made bigger and stronger where you won't go possess the land that belongs to you? What is it? Are you intimidated because you never had that type of position before and you want the promotion but you're scared to go for it? What is it? Is it that you never once stepped out on faith and created a business and you're afraid to to go get clientele and build clients, and you don't know if it's going to be enough to feed your family, so you just got comfortable in the 9 to 5. What is it? Is it that you're afraid that if you leave this man or you leave this girl, that was the best thing that ever happened to you since sliced bread, and there's nobody else out there that will really love you the way God said that you need to be loved, that'll take care of you and treat you the way God said that you need to be treated and take care of it? What is it that you made so big, that this thing is so big that financially you don't understand the dollar sign, you don't understand the circumstance, you don't understand that I got a foreclosure notice, you don't understand I got an eviction note, you don't understand they're coming to repossess it, so I've made this dollar sign bigger than my God that says I've given you the ability to obtain wealth. What is it that you made so big? You look at this thing and you're like, it's bigger than me, and it's about to fall on me and make me collapse. It's trying to crush me. What is it that has you in a place where you think that you can't do it? And after you determine what it is, I want to know who is helping you to win. Who's telling you to get up and fight again? Who's telling you to get back in the ring and swing a punch? Who's telling you to brush your shoulders off and square them back and handle your business? Who's telling you that this thing is something that God said belongs to you and you are well able? It says the people begin to say, no, no, no. Moses, please don't send us to go get what God said is ours, because the giants are there. And then it goes a little further. It says, and we, it said the giants were there. The descendants from Anak. And they said, and we were grasshoppers in our own sight, comma, and so were we in their sight. And that stuck me for a minute, because I said, well, wait a minute. Y'all were sent. I want y'all to do some common sense thing. That's what intelligence will help you do. Wait a minute. Moses sent you to do intel, to go spy out the land. Wait a minute. To my knowledge, when you're going to spy something out, you incognito. So how is it? I get that you looked in the mirror and you got intimidated by what you saw when you saw the giants. But how is it that you say, and so were we like grasshoppers in their sight? When did they actually see you and you were incognito? When did they actually lay eyes on you and you were secretly spying out the land? The people exaggerated, don't miss this point, the 12 leaders that were sent from the tribe of Israel, 10 of them exaggerated not only what they saw, the giants, but they exaggerated who they saw themselves to be in the giant's eye. The giant wasn't paying them no attention. They would have crushed them then. The giant wasn't even looking at them. The giant wasn't even watching them. And some of us are intimidated and won't do what God told us to do because we think somebody just watching you. Yeah, there's a devil that goes on this earth. He's seeking to and fro, Diane, who he can devour. But sometimes the devil's so focused on this that he ain't focused on you. And that's when you got to move. That's when you got to bust a good move. Jacob, you got to go for it. Caleb, you got to go for it. Yvette, you got to go for it. Anthony, you got to go for it. Dorothy, you got to go for it. What is it that has you afraid to go for it? Oh, it says Caleb came back and he said, no. It says the people began to cry and they began to complain in Numbers chapter number 14. And they said, let us go find us another leader that'll take us on back to Egypt. We sick of Moses. Moses that brought us out here in the wilderness. You know, they was always complaining. Moses that brought us here promised us that God said there's something that you can have and go on and handle it. But the people then came back and told us that we're not going to be able to do it. Who is in your ear? Who's telling you you can't when God said that you can? Oh God, some of us are like the people and the children of Israel. We made a decision based off of somebody else's report. Whose report will you believe? If God said you can, then why are you saying that you can't? And who's bold enough to go against the Lord? God. God said, go. Why are you still there? God said, do. Why have you not done yet? God said, change. Why are you still doing the same? Oh, it says they cried and they complained and they said, we need somebody other than Moses. Moses now gets in his feelings, Dorothy, and he's like, God. He gets before his brother Aaron. They fall on their faces at the synagogue. God, oh God, you done sent me these people. You sent me these people to lead, and I don't know what to do. I know you said it's the land. I know you said this is the time. I know you said, God, this is what our prayers sound like. I know you said that I could have it. I know you said this is my year, God. I know you said that it's going to be better. God, but have you seen what's went on in January? God, do you see what's going on in the news? God, do you see the airplanes that's falling upside down? God, do you see the different things that's happening in the economy? God, do you see the number of people that just lost their job? God, do you see what just happened in people that are dying of cancer? God, do you see what's going on and now we don't have access to this? God, do you see? Do you see? Do you see? It says Moses was in the assembly with Aaron crying unto God. Oh God, do you see? It says, oh, Caleb, while he was doing all that crying, it says Joshua, went into the same area. Moses, the leader, face down in there crying. And it says that Joshua steps up to the plate. It says Joshua, verse number 6 of chapter 14, and Caleb that were among the spies, they went into the assembly. It says they tore off all of their clothes, tore it off. They were just frustrated. Sometimes you got to get loose. They just tore it off and got loose. And it says that they said in verse number 7, it says the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. And I want to pause there. I want to tell you, whoever is listening under the sound of my voice, whatever it is that God told you to go check out so that you can gather some intelligence to know how to manage it when he gives it to you, it's still a good promise. It's still a good promise. The promises of God are yes and amen. God wouldn't promise to give you something and then bait and switch you. He don't act like that. He doesn't function like that. We talk about the names and the relevance of the names in the Bible. He is God. God is a man that formed himself in the shape of Jesus the Christ. And the Bible says concerning Jesus that he is the Son of Man, the Son of God, and he shall not lie. He'll never have to repent. He'll never have to step back and say, I didn't mean to tell you that. God doesn't make promises and switch up on you. And we're so used to following leaders that don't know how to win, following leaders that are popular, following leaders that have a majestic air, following leaders that say, I'm the prince and I'm in charge, following leaders that's undercover hiders, following leaders. Where are the individuals that say, I got a dog in this fight? Caleb's name meant dog. And Joshua, his name is the Lord is with me. So the dog stepped up and said, I got a dog in this fight. The one that had a reminder that God's presence is with him stepped up and said, no, God said that this was ours. It says, Candy Love, he told him, he said, the land is exceedingly good. Verse number 8, he said, if the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and he's going to give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. He said, but here's the thing, verse 9, he said, don't rebel against the Lord. Don't rebel. He said, and don't fear the people that are in the land. He said, they are our bread. They're our protection. The protection has departed from them. He said, this land that was given to us, he said, don't fear them. And some of us have been operating, if we get naked and unashamed, in a spirit of fear. We don't have all that we could have because we're afraid to do something different. We're afraid to try. We're afraid to try and fail. We're afraid to try and fail and then be embarrassed. We're afraid of what will the people say. Do you not know that everybody knew that Caleb's name meant dog? He didn't care. Call me what you want. But what you're going to see is me walking to what God said belongs to me. It says, as I come to a close, that the congregation began to cry out, stone Caleb and stone Joshua. How dare they come and try to encourage us to continue to do this? It says Moses then goes into intercessory prayer. He says, Lord, verse number 17, he said, be with us, Lord. You are great. You're long suffering. You're abundant in mercy. You're forgiving in iniquity and transgressions. He said, would you pardon the iniquity of these people according to your great mercy, God? He said, would you forgive the people from Egypt even until now? And God responded. He said to him in verse number 20, as I come to a close, he said, I have pardoned according to your word. He said, but truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of God. He said, and everybody that sees my glory and the signs, they should know that, yes, I am the God that brought them out of Egypt. They want my glory, but they forget that I am the same God that brought them from out of Egypt and then brought them out of the wilderness. And if I did it back then, and if I did it right now, and if I'm trying to tell you I'm about to do it again, the fact that you doubt me, he says in verse 23, they certainly will not see the land which I swore to their fathers that I would give them because they've rejected me. But in verse 24, he says, but my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him and has followed me fully, I will bring him into the land that he went, him and all of his descendants. Well, the Bible tells us that Caleb was the only one, and Joshua. Joshua and Caleb and their descendants were the only one that possessed what God told them, I'm giving to you anyway. What happened, Pastor Tab, to the other people? So glad that you asked. The Bible tells us if we continue to read in verses 29 all the way down to the end of chapter 14 of the book of Numbers, their carcasses, they died in the place where they decided to remain stuck. They died and their descendants died. These leaders were sent out to represent their descendants. They were sent out to represent the people that were connected to them. The leaders that refused to believe that God was sending them somewhere different and better and good because they were afraid of what they saw that was already there. They died, and the people connected to them died in the wilderness. I asked you this question not because it was a catchy title. I need you to really step back and analyze who is helping you win. Who is your Caleb and who is your Joshua? Who is connected to the voice of the Lord and says, God, if you said it, I believe it, and let's go do it? Who is helping you to walk into your land overflowing with milk and honey? And Dion, we got to stop connecting, my sister, to individuals that are popular, to individuals, oh, well, they seem like they know what to do. What's their track record? Do they have a track record of success? Do they have something that they can point you to that can show you that when I dealt with a giant before, this is how I overcame the giant? Are you connected to somebody that can tell you, yes, I know what it feels like to have a loss, but I also know what it feels like to win again with God? Are you connected to somebody that's looking at your situation and saying, okay, let's do some practical things. Let's look at your resume. Let's look at this LLC. Let's look at this nonprofit. Let's revisit this book that's in you. Let's get you in some counseling. Let's help you with the family. Let's help you with the marriage. Let's help you with the grandkids and the children. Are you connected to somebody that says, wait a minute. It's too much in you for you to die like this. Let's go ahead and handle this. Let's get in front of the doctor. Let's remember the report of the Lord. He said you shall live and not die. Wait a minute. I hear what you're saying. Are you connected to somebody that will hush you in your area that you're stuck in and say, I got the expertise. I'm bold enough that I know I got a dog in this fight. Why you keep saying that, Pastor Tab? Caleb's name meant dog. And the reason I go hard the way that I do when it comes to ministry is because I want you to win. I got a dog in this fight. I may have never laid eyes on you, but when I call your name out in the chat, I got a dog in this fight. I need you to overcome. I need you to remember that you're a winner. I need you to go to the next level. I got a dog in this fight. I don't want to just be successful. I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy. I want you to be in God's glory. I want you to receive his favor. I got a dog in this fight. I'm not just in this thing for me. I'm in it for us. I got a dog in this fight. So when you go down, I'm going down too, but I'm going to pick you up. I got a dog in this fight. I can't afford for you to be on the battleground hurt, injured and hurt. I can't afford for you to throw in the towel. I can't afford for you to turn your back on it. I got a dog in this fight. When you win, I win. When I win, you win. I got a dog in this fight. Caleb realized it was bigger than him. And I'm asking, are you connected to somebody that understands that the purpose on your life, the calling on your life, the assignment on your life is so much bigger than you? It's connected to the people that are descendants, that are hip by hip, shoulder to shoulder, arm to arm. You are carrying a generation to the next level. You are carrying another group to the next level. You got a dog in this fight, and you can't be connected to a leader that's selfish and doesn't care about you winning. I need you to win in this season. Who's helping you to win? And who has the knowledge to understand that you can't do it in your strength? Joshua understood that at the last minute Moses changed my name. It was without permission. A change happened. But Joshua didn't buck the process. Joshua was flexible. Who's telling you you got to be flexible? Because every now and then the path that you're on, God will change it up. And you can be stuck. But God, it was this way. God, this is how I was born. God, this was the name that was given to me. God, this is the thing that I walk in. I was talking to somebody the other day. They got a doctor's report. The doctor said, you need to work out. They said, I ain't doing that. I said, well, you just going to die? That's the end of your story. You too freaking lazy to get your butt up and exercise. You're just going to die. And then you're going to want a big old funeral, a whole lot of flowers. You're going to want everybody crying, a nice pretty program, because you decided to just die when the solution was get your behind up and move. I don't understand it. And you're not going to be connected to me. And I don't tell you that I love you enough to say, get up and move. You got people that are dependent on you to live and not die. We got to stop being simple-minded, lazy, and comfortable in what we know is no longer serving us. Caleb said, I'll do it, God, because I got a dog in this fight. Joshua said, I'll go for it, God, because if you change it, my name to not meaning, oh God, to now meaning that your glory is with me. That's a name that I'm willing to change. He let Moses change his name on the instant, on the spot. And God is trying to make some changes that are instant. And we keep bucking the process. And God sent me to tell you, my glory is in your flexibility to change. My glory resides in your willingness to do something different. My glory resides with the people that are willing to be adaptable. My glory is with the people that will gather in the intel and that will say what thus says the Lord. My glory is with the people that will try what I'm telling them to try, that will go where I tell them to go, that will do what I tell them to do. My glory is with the individuals that understand that it's bigger than them. My glory is with the people that want what God said belongs to them. Oh, I want to know, who's helping you to win? That's my question. Who is helping you to win? And if you're not connected to the right people, I want you to pray that God will send you some leaders that will build your capacity to gather the intel that you need to walk in and execute what God said belongs to you. It's time for you to execute and possess it and stop talking about it like it's a fairy dream. This isn't a fairy tale. This is your life. And people that are connected to you are impacted by whether you go for it or not. So come to a close, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put a link out. This was an intentional message. Our Madam Vice President, Yvette Searson, that's on, she and I have been working behind the scenes. I told you guys in January that one of the things that we are launching, and today it is official, is the Christian Education Ministry with Tuesday Live with eChurch, Tab eChurch. And when I was before God praying, I said, God, I don't want the traditional classes. That there's enough churches that offer those traditional classes, and I'm glad that they do. They offer the class on how to do this and how to do that. Nothing wrong with those classes. But what I understand about my assignment in the earth and what God created me to do and who he created me to be, I build up leaders. I build up individuals that want to be better than what they were yesterday. My assignment is to give you the knowledge, the power, the skill set, the accountability, the drive, and the fight to go after everything that God says belongs to you. It is my purpose. And my purpose doesn't operate outside of ministry. It operates also inside of ministry. I am a pastor that preaches hope because hope is what I believe in. And as we were looking at the classes to put together, I said, Yvette, I want to put together two types of classes. One that are for leaders that are in the business place, in the marketplace, if you will. Those of you that are LLCs, those of you that are nonprofit organization leaders, those of you that have your paperwork in order. I want to put some classes together. And we have the class outline of the ones that we're going to offer for you. Because I don't take for granted that just because I work with too many owners and founders and leaders, that yes, God gave you a vision, but you didn't get the intel that you needed to be successful in your business. I want to work with you. I don't want you to fold a LLC. I don't want you to just have it on the books because it's something that you can write off for a tax credit. I want you to do what God called you to do with that thing. So I want to help build your capacity. We have some classes that you get to select from if you want to sign up. And then there's some individuals that you're like, Pastor Tab, I work a 9 to 5, but I'm still a leader. I'm a leader at home. I'm a leader in my community. I'm a leader in my family. I'm a leader. And we want to give you some leadership training, the intel so that you can operate. We want to teach you about money management. We want to teach you about how to operate on the 9 to 5. We want to teach you how to get that resume in order if that's your thing. We want to teach you how to build a family legacy. We want to teach you how to create some things so that you can walk in something because it's so much bigger than just you. So the Christian Ed classes that we're putting together are for leaders and for those that are operating a spirit of leadership. And then for those that want to be trained and licensed and ordained in ministry. Because I am ordained in ministry as a pastor. I didn't just jump up one day and say, I think I'm going to pastor. I went through the whole process, went through the training, went through the classes, got my certificate, got the laying on of hands. I thank God for it. I am ordained and recognized by the state and universally. I can license and ordain you. But I'm not just going to do it to say, okay, let's talk about it. No, you're going to get some books. You're going to get some classes. You're going to get a curriculum. I need you to be trained because there's too many of us out here, and I'm saying us, that are leading people according to what thus says the Lord. But you didn't go through no full training. You didn't get this word so that you can rightly divide it, Tony, so that we don't lead people astray. I want to make sure that you have the tools, if God has called you to it, that you can be successful in this calling that's on your life. So we're going to put these classes as a link so that you can create the form, because what we want to do is we want to see what classes you guys are interested in, and then we'll get the classes scheduled and set up. We're looking for classes to start in April because March is anniversary month, so we'll be celebrating March 5 years. Thank you, God, for doing Tuesday Live with Tab eChurch. But that'll give us the opportunity behind the scene to make sure that we have everything in place based off of the classes that you guys say that you're interested in. Now, it will be an investment. Each class will be $25. And let me tell you, I'm going to tell you this right here. The money goes to the eChurch. We will pay our facilitator or trainer. We do a flat fee for any trainer that comes in. But outside of that, to be a participant, each class, they will be by way of Zoom, will be $25. The reason we're doing that, the money that, because I like people, you know, our transparency, that money goes to the e-church so that we can use it. We have a youth ministry. We want to use that to help our youth ministry. We also want to use it to help with our outreach efforts. We will be doing outreach if the Lord allows. We plan, the board has approved it for us to do it in July and December. Last year we just did December. We're going to add one more on. We want to hit the summer months, so we're going to do that. That's where that money is going to go. It's not to line my pockets. I have a gig. I am a professional, certified. Got 5 different certifications. I've been doing this for over 20-something years. So it's not a rookie that's coming to you. I want to give you the stuff that you need so that you can be the leader and lead the way that God has called you to do so. So that's going to be our Christian Ed. The link will be connected to this service. It'll also be, it's on our website. If you go to our website, it'll be there as well. But guys, the whole purpose of this message, who's helping you to win, is I need you to really process. And it's not about picking your friends, not about picking your family. It's about making sure that you have people strategically and intentionally connected to your life, that are connected to God, so that you can walk in your purpose. I need you to win. I need you to be successful. I'd rather you win as a Christian, as a believer, than continuing to be in a space where you have pharaohs that don't believe in God or the power of his name, making decisions concerning everything connected to you. That's not the will of God. And I can support it right here. So leaders, believers, ambassadors of Christ, it's time for us to get on our game. We have a dog in this fight. So I'm calling you to the table, and I'm telling you, you got to be connected to somebody that wants and that is helping you to win in this season. Y'all, I love you. That is the word for today. Numbers chapter 13 and chapter number 14. I encourage you to go back and read it for yourself. Glean some more out of this word. And I want to do a quick shout out before I jump off. Brother Anthony Houston and Mandy, we call her Lisa. So sometimes you go by Mandy, sometimes you go by Lisa. So, but they are connected. And what he shared with me, he said, Pastor Tab, she and I get together. She has a notebook that is dedicated just to the services for Tuesday Live. And they get together and they study and go through the word together. They break down stuff. They get back in the scripture. So I'm just like, God, y'all, we're making an impact. I got a call from one of my spiritual sons, George, out of Nigeria on yesterday. Just called randomly through the Facebook app and said, I didn't know if you were going to answer. I said, yes, so what's going on? He said, Mommy Tab, I just want to let you know you're making an impact around the world. We hear you in Nigeria. And if there's something that you want to do from a missions perspective, let us know. And we have a team that's ready to support you in Nigeria so that you can do boots on the ground ministry if you ever come to visit. Thank you for putting that in the chat, Ben. So guys, what we're doing isn't just for us. It's bigger than us. And I need all of us to be equipped and in position. So when the time calls, you can lead the people that God has connected you to lead. I love y'all. Y'all, mwah, sweet kisses from my heart straight to yours. The link is going to be connected to this live feed today. Hey there, Anthony Mayo. Y'all have an absolutely phenomenal day. Candy Love, I love you guys too. Bye-bye.